Hello all, let us talk about vias used in PCB designs. So this is a very high level talk and we don't want to go into the depth of how vias are designed or that way. So basically a via is nothing but a means of connection used in PCB to connect different layers of a PCB in a dense board. So if the board is not dense and if you are using a single layer, then there's no need of via. But if you want to route a particular signal between different layers, you need vias to be used in the PCB. So there can be different types of vias. We will talk about it later. So just to give a brief, a via would be this way, where the center one is called the copper pad, the outer one is called the antipad. So this antipad acts as a separator between this particular via and any copper traces around. So basically this can be called a void without any copper. So this is how a via would be. Now we have to know what are all the different types of vias used in designs. So basically there are different vias used in designs. The first kind of via is called a through hole via. Like example, let us assume we have a 6-layer board. Okay, there are 6 layers here. So forget about the dielectrics between. Let us assume only copper layers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in PCB we call this as a top layer, we call this as a bottom layer, and these are all the inner layers. Now if you have a via coming from top to bottom, you imagine this hole from the top uh, coming from top to bottom and connecting either connecting all the layers or connecting only the layer that is required, or connecting from top to bottom. This kind of via is called a through hole via, and it is the most commonly used in the PCBs by designers around. There's one more via called the buried via, where you will have from either top or bottom to some inner layer, and then it stops at a particular layer. And then there is one more via called the blind via, where it starts between inner layers and ends at a inner layer, and from the top you don't know to which and all layers it is routed. If you see a physical board, only through layout you can get to know that there is a via. And then there are some more vias called the staggered vias. So example, if I want to connect from the bottom layer or the top layer to the inner layer, we will have two vias that are used in staggered fashion. So now this signal would be connected to this using this staggered kind of arrangement. So there is one more kind of via that can be used. So these staggered vias, these kind of vias are also called micro vias. So this is the classification. So ultimate aim of all these vias for the designers to understand is that it forms an electrical connection between layers. Now, when we say electrical connection, the connection could be either for the signals or the power. So, when we are talking about signals first, so for a signals on the board that are routed between different ICs, example, if I have a board and if I route between two ICs, IC1, IC2, the signal goes from here to here. So for these kind of signals, the current carrying capability will be very less for any signals, whether it be low frequency signal or high frequency signal. The current carrying capability would not be high. So in that case, having a via doesn't pose too much issue, so you can have via as per your choice. And again, we will talk later on what kind of via to be used for high frequency and low frequency designs. So for now, signals, as signals doesn't need to carry too much current, you can have a via there. Now for power signals, generally what we do is Vias help in two ways for when we use them on the power planes or for power signals. So generally we call planes because this plane is used to distribute across distribute the power across all the components on the board. So now when we use these vias, we generally use these vias which should have current carrying capability. So and also this via should be able to handle the thermal requirements of the particular trace or particular rail, voltage rail. So in that case it's not so simple that you can use a single wire. We have to use online PCB calculators to see the current carrying capability. Like example, let us assume we have again we'll come to this which is easier to understand because we have talked. Let us assume I have a regulator here, a switching regulator, which has to give around 2 amps of current to different components on the board. And now let us assume my actual power layer is here, where I have a we are just giving an example. Definitely it will not be 3, it will be 2 considering this stack up. So when you have a power plane here or in some other layers like 5, so this layer if the space permits could be a continuous power plane, and this will connect to different layers. The power will get connected from this layer to different layers of the board. Let us assume this is a 3.3 volt. Okay, now here this 2 amps of load should output from this regulator, and then it must go to this plane, and this plane will further connect to different components on the PCB. So here we should have wires from here to this particular 3.3 volt rail, such that this entire wire should carry 2 amps of current, and then it should go to the power plane, and then from power plane we'll have wires correspondingly to connecting to the different components. So what we mean to say here is basically power wise we have to use tools to see what is the current carrying capability and number of wires to be used, and wire sizes is also important. Whereas for signals, while the number of wires is not important, the wire size matters. Whereas for power, the wire size it doesn't matter, because more the wires, higher the current carrying capability, better for that power signals. So that's the difference we have to see here. And then definitely if there are number of wires, you will have a good thermal performance, which is clear. Now one major problem that could come with these kind of wires on these boards is, let us assume I have a board like this, okay, and then if I have a bunch of wires around around a particular layer, let us assume I have a switcher, and then I'm switching this to inner layer, this power rail. So here we'll have bunch of wires. So now what happens is, let us assume this board only has a single regulator which supplies to the entire board, and then it's a 4-layer or greater than that. Let us assume the scenario. So in this case what happens is, you have a bunch of wires here, and then this board will have wires for signals whatever are required, and this could lead to a scenario called PCB twist or wrap. In some scenarios we call it normally during our usage we call it bend. This is because of the uneven copper distribution across the board. So a designer has to judge this scenario as well, and understand if a PCB twist or wrap can happen if I am localizing all these particular wires, and then having because of that having uneven copper distribution across the board, causing the PCB to bend. So that is one important criteria while laying out the power wires. Now coming to the signals, so we have talked that via will have effect on the via size will have effect on the signal. So now for low frequency, definitely there is no bother whether you have a smaller via or whether you have a bigger via. So let us say we are not talking about the sizes here because via sizes are not standardized, and this particular vias for a low frequency signal you will not have any worry. So you can use your choice of via size. Now for high frequency signals, the three major factors which are important are delay, and second rise time, and then fall time. So these are three important parameters for high speed signals. There are other parameters, but particularly as we are talking about via, we wanted to discuss this. A via on a PCB for a particular signal, let us assume I am switching from this layer to example third layer, a particular signal. And in this case, this via introduce impedance discontinuity onto this particular signal. So for high speed signals, we talked that impedance matching is very important. Otherwise it could cause signals signal reflection, and then causing issues of signal integrity, right? Because if there is impedance discontinuity, if there is no impedance matching, the signal reflects and causes disturbance onto the signal, thereby introducing error rates onto that particular channel, right? So this particular via should be chosen such that this via should not introduce enough inductance and capacitance onto these particular high frequency signals. Definitely resistance is not an issue because these signals don't carry too much of current, whether it be high frequency or low frequency. Only problem at high frequency scenarios is the inductance and the capacitance that this via introduces. So in this scenario, one has to remember that there is a particular formula you can see across different calculators. More this anti-pad size, the lesser the capacitance that is introduced, and lesser the copper size, the better you will have the inductance. So the capacitance and inductance will be decided on how you are laying out the via size. Example, if I am introducing a via 16 cross 32 mil example, so my outer ring is definitely will have more size, right? So generally, as a precautionary measure, what designers do is the inner ring diameter would be half of the outer ring diameter. That's how they choose. So if you increase this outer anti-pad size, the capacitance would get reduced a little, and this definitely will help in high frequency signals. This is the one criteria which we need to consider. So when this again need to be determined using simulations, the formulas. So that's again the practical scenarios. Here we are just trying to give information, and the user has to use this and apply in their scenarios, do simulations, and come to a conclusion. So that's the kind of effect this can bring in. So whether it be delay, rise time, fall time, these all can be maintained or without causing any issues to these high frequency signals by changing these via sizes. So straightforward we can say that higher the via size, better this performance for a particular high speed signal. Now coming to the last point, some of the designers use tenting on their vias. So while some of the designers leave their vias open. So what is tenting is basically when you have a via here, so some designers prefer to cover these vias, we call it a solder mask. So we use mask over those vias such that that's a protective measure. While some designers don't use it. This particularly in PCBs doesn't cause an additional cost criteria, but this can be used as a safety measure. Now this tenting definitely is not a standard one. There are some other things that can be done, but this tenting can go off over a period of time. But again, it's a call from the designer to see in which scenario he is using the PCB, what is the effect of tenting. All these scenarios need to be determined based on the application. So some PCB designers straight away use this tenting onto their wires without taking a call from the design engineers, but the scenario need to be determined on how to use it, and a call need to be taken on this. So these are the points we just wanted to discuss about via. Please let us know your comments, suggestions on this. Please raise any concerns. If you don't disagree with any points in this particular video, please like and subscribe our channel. Thanks for watching.